streamed, I believe, today, and I'm here at City Hall with Chris Greisel, our city attorney. Jeff Lance and Jason Myers are remotely calling in so that we can ensure we adhere to all the CDC guidelines regarding public gatherings. That being said, I don't believe we have any additional announcements or presentations, Chris, do we?
Nope.
All right, moving forward, we'll move to the consent agenda. Were we all three of us at the last meeting? I believe we were.
We all were. We were participating electronically.
That's correct, we were. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Approved.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now move on to resolutions. We have a request to approve the purchase. Well, let me just start here too. On each one of these agenda items, Jeff and Jason, I'm going to talk through them briefly. If there's a need for official presentation by any of the staff, or if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. But since staff is not here and we won't be doing any formal presentations, everything of relevant information should be in the council agenda or the board agenda items. So we're not going to go through a lengthy presentation on each one of these. A lot of these, frankly, are fairly self-explanatory. Resolution in item number 6, resolution 041320 is a request to approve purchase of 3 Chevy Colorados. This was brought in by our fleet director. Are there any specific questions that either Jeff or Jason have regarding this agenda item?
No. No.
And just to make a note, the original budgeted line item was $87,000. The expenditure is $76,224. So it is below the actual estimate, if you will. So if there are no questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Motion.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous vote. Next is resolution 041320A, a request to approve professional services agreement for 126th and Southeastern Parkway roundabout. Let me pull this item up. So this is a design contract, and right-of-way costs will be funded 100%. Is this with RQAW? Or, excuse me, not RQAW, but
This is with American Structure Point.
Okay.
So this is the contract to design the new roundabout at 126th Street and Southeastern Parkway. The design, the right-of-way costs are funded 100% locally, with construction and inspection to be a 80-20 match. And so the city's seeking to enter into this professional services agreement with American Structure Point for the design of this roundabout.
Okay. Any questions on this item?
No.
All right.
The only question I have is, how does this fit with the roundabout, timing-wise, the roundabout at Cynthiana and Southeastern?
Jason Taylor or Hatem, can you speak to that in terms of these two designs and when the construction would be along those roads?
Yeah, this is Jason. So the construction of this one is going to be in late 2023. And repeat the intersection that you were asking information about.
Cynthiana and Southeastern.
That one is going to be, Tammy, correct me if I'm incorrect, but the 2022.
It'll be late 2021, early 22.
Okay, very good. Thanks, guys.
If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Approves unanimously. Next is resolution 041320B, a request to approve summer 2020 farmers market vendor agreements or agreement. This is a standard document. I assume each vendor has to approve to be part of our farmers market. I would tell you that as of right now, obviously we're monitoring CDC guidelines around farmers markets and we'll address and adjust accordingly. But this is just, I guess, for the Board of Works, this would be a approval of a standardized document, but not the approval of each and every agreement of
That's
the vendors.
correct.
Is that fair, Chris?
That's correct. It's the approval of that standardized vendor contract form, which would authorize our Parks Director and our Assistant Parks Director to go enter into those vendor agreements if and when appropriate during this time period.
Any questions by Jason or Jeff?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the vendor agreement?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next is item 9, Resolution 041320D, a request to approve a resolution dedicating right-of-way for 126th Street and Ford Roundabout project from Lockhart Cadillac.
Mayor, all three of these next resolutions, items 9, 10, and 11, are all resolutions dedicating right-of-way for the same 126th Street and Ford Roundabout project. So item number 9 is dedication from Lockhart Realty. Items 10 and 11 are dedication from Regency Windsor and Sunblest. It's the dedication of right-of-way, so the city accepting the dedication, and then temporary easements for the construction.
Any questions, Jason or Jeff, on this?
No.
None for me.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll take each one of these items. So first is item 9. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 10, Resolution 041320E. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Item 11, R041320F. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Item 11 is a unanimous vote. Moving on to item 12. This is a request to approve professional services agreement for 96th Street resurfacing.
So this is the contract for engaging A&F Engineering to perform certain project development services related to the improvements on 96th Street from Hague to Lantern Road, which the city was awarded community crossing grant to complete. The project is not, the project agreement with A&F Engineering is not to exceed $97,500. Jason's on the line as well to fill in any details to the extent you all have any questions.
So Jason, question for you. This design contract with A&F Engineering, is this just for the lane realignment and then some minimal kind of streetscape? Because the majority of this is really going into just repavement of that stretch, isn't it?
Correct. It included the maintenance of traffic design. That was the bulk of the work. But yeah, you're right. The traffic signals, the better lane utilization, and the pavement rehabilitation with some grass median in there.
Okay. Any additional questions for Jason? Seeing none, and first of all, I want to thank Jason for his work. We were able to secure $1 million community crossings grant, which is a great
Nice.
opportunity for the city. So great job, Jason, on that. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Item 13, a request for bid award and approval of construction agreement for Nickel Plate Trail from 106th Street to 126th Street. Are there any questions regarding this?
So, this is Jason. On the document, I think it was a cut and paste error, but on 77th page, it's labeled bid-1. It states 126th Street Ford Drive Roundabout, not the nickel plate.
You're correct. There was an error on the submittal from the contractor on that document. That has been corrected in the official document that will be signed for the contract.
So,
Okay, yeah, this is on the proposal summary page, too,
okay.
from us.
But we have corrected that. That is a good catch.
Yep, okay. All right.
One point of clarification. So on this, the bid award, are we giving the bid award for the 96 to 141st with a notice to proceed of 126 to 106th?
Yeah, the notice to proceed will be for 106 to 126 with the exclusion of the downtown section from South Street to North Street.
But just so I'm clear, we're awarding the bid for the 96 to 141st, but we're only giving notice to proceed on the 106 to 126th Street net of downtown, is that correct?
Except for it's not to 146, it's to 131st.
131st. Okay. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Scott, because I was going to ask the same questions. The exhibits at the end of Exhibit A, I guess the satellite maps showed it going to 131st from 96th Street, so I was a little confused there since we're only bidding on or approving 106 to 126.
Yeah. So the dollar amount that we're awarding today would contemplate 131st to 96th Street, but our notice to proceed will only be from 106 to 126 for the time being. Is that correct, Jason?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Any additional questions for Jason or Chris? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our next item, which has several items attached to it, is the first of a series of considerations by the Board of Works for small cell tower sites. This is something that Chris Greisel, our city attorney, has come before this board on a number of occasions to prep us in anticipation of this. Now, obviously, given COVID-19, we've had to alter our approach to dealing with this, but we have kept many of the same principles in place where our residents have been notified of these per our requirements, and we've tracked all of their feedback, and we have that for the record today, and it has been shared with Jason, Jeff, and myself. And so we're going to try to do this in an orderly and timely fashion, and we'll turn it over to Chris to give us kind of a high overview, and then we'll go ahead and move through each and every one of these. So, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And
Chris, before you start, I think just as a note, right, it's important to note that we weren't able to alter the timeline because of the COVID situation, right? We were still under the same obligation from a timeline standpoint to consider these. Is that an accurate statement?
yeah, that's correct, Jeff. And the statement that he was asking about is with respect to the federal and state shock locks, where we have to consider the permit applications, which are 10 days to review for completeness and 45 days to review for the content of the permits. And you're correct, nothing about COVID has allowed us to delay the consideration of those permits, which are why they're all here today.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time, as this board knows, discussing small cell towers going back to 2015, and I think this board's well aware the city's regulatory authority with respect to small cell deployment is extremely limited and is largely preempted by federal law. To avoid a patchwork of state and local laws regarding RF missions, Congress preempted local communities from regulating the siting of wireless transmitters based on these RF concerns if those facilities comply with the FCC RF standards. So accordingly, the city must rely upon the FCC to ensure that these RF standards provide adequate safeguards for the public health and safety. Again, the city is federally preempted from considering the health and safety of this technology when determining whether or not it should deploy small cell towers within our communities. In Indiana, as this board knows, the placement of these small cell facilities and the associated supporting structures in the public right-of-way are considered permitted uses, and they're exempt from local zoning review if the total height of the structure supporting the small cell facility does not exceed the greater of 50 feet measured from grade, or the height of any utility pole within 500 feet of this proposed facility, plus an additional 10 feet. With respect to the construction, placement, or use of any small cell facility, The city is generally prohibited from limiting the placement of small cell facilities by maximum separation distances or maximum height limitations, imposing unreasonable requirements regarding the maintenance or appearance of these facilities, and prohibiting an applicant from locating a small cell facility, wireless support structure, or utility pole in a residential area. With respect to the residential deployment of this technology, this board has done more than most communities throughout the state of Indiana by taking proper actions to ensure an added layer of review occurred prior to the deployment within our neighborhoods. In 2017, the board responded to state legislation which only gave communities 2 days to designate certain residential areas of our community as underground utility areas, whereby the deployment of 5G infrastructure could occur only through this waiver process, which the board enacted in 2017. Over the past year, the city's met with most telecommunication providers in an attempt to discuss 5G rollout in our community, which included residential deployment. Understanding that the residential deployment was in our foreseeable future, the city developed a comprehensive 5G website that answers common questions regarding 5G deployment, provides a real-time GIS map of all the proposed locations within the city as required by law, allows the HOA to register or receive information regarding proposed permits in the area, and provides additional resources for public consumption. Although not required by law, the city and this board made a decision to notify any resident within a 200-foot radius of the proposed permit location and provided information regarding how that resident could learn more about the city's 5G process. So for today's agenda, the 28 permits that are being considered generated over 450 residential letters. Additionally, city staff has been in communication with several HOAs regarding residential deployment. Finally, as the mayor mentioned, the city provided residents with opportunities to submit comments to the board regarding the proposed permits through our website, through social media, and through correspondence that was provided by the city. Those comments have been received and have been distributed to the board members and will be made a part of today's record. A majority of those comments received generally spoke in opposition to the deployment of 5G technology as a whole and asked the city to prohibit the deployment, which we are not able to do. The 28 permits on today's agenda are from Verizon, who has worked closely with city staff to discuss these proposed locations. And Verizon has been very responsive to various city comments regarding proposed locations, aesthetics, et cetera. So I think before we turn it into consideration of these residential deployments, I'd ask Jason Taylor if he had any additional comments that he'd like to make with respect to his work with Verizon on these permits.
And thanks, Chris. As Chris was discussing about the process, the city has been in close coordination with Verizon, specifically Leonard and his team. Tammy Houston within the engineering department has done a great job of coordinating a lot of different items that to ensure that we are that the placement of the cell structures are in an area that is the least disruptive to the community, a neighborhood, or a particular resident. Some of the areas are common areas, trying to make sure that we prioritize some of the locations of common area, maybe possibly placing them behind the garage so that there's no windows where the structure is going to be placed, at intersections or crosswalks where there's already any potential for increased safety due to additional lighting. The existing light poles, replacing them instead of having the existing light pole there, replace it with the future cell structure. Some additional items that have been closely coordinated are the aesthetics of, will they have lights on them? Will they be black? Will they be green? Will they be fluted? Some of those aesthetic items are definitely being closely coordinated. Verizon has been very good at providing information to us to get us mock-ups to review. We've been able to work through that. But that would be, in general, all the items that we have been working through. And at this point, I'd open it up to the board for any questions.
All right, so from a procedural standpoint, Chris, and thanks for the overview, we're going to take each one of these and consider them for a resolution to basically provide a waiver that would allow them to go in a residential area. The only public comment that we have, given the current process, is what they would have submitted in the form. And so we'll just go down each one of these or by neighborhood, and if there's subjects.
Yes.
In regarding to the,
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, this is Jason, if I may. So I just want to make a couple comments before we start into individual specifics here. So I just wanted to thank Leonard. Thank you for the response on how to turn off and regard to near work. You know, someone has to do some work around a tower, what that process is. So thank you for that answer earlier today. And then Jason, thank you for the clarity on the black, green, the poles. I wondered what was driving some of the differences there. Fluted not. So thank you. Assume that's all matching current neighborhood poles or decor, if you will, that they might already have set up in the neighborhood. So thank you for that. And I want to thank everyone, too, for the diligence related to this rollout. So regarding the rollout, is there any specific reason what preempted or what drove the first 28 sites versus, you know, over another area? Is there anything that can be shared related to that?
I think
Leonard would go ahead. I'm sorry.
to maybe just add to Jason's question, I think when you look at the comments, which I've reviewed from the vast majority of people, I think the big question is why my neighborhood versus another neighborhood, and I think maybe that's to Jason's point. You know, these 28 that are coming out certainly won't be the last of these, but maybe talk about why geographically, you know, there was this concentration. It seemed like mainly in the north central part of Fishers, and what that is in regard to.
Leonard with Verizon, would you be able to speak to that?
Well, thank you for the kind comments. That's what we like to hear, is that we are trying to do everything for aesthetics and stuff like that. So I have one of our RF engineers on the call who also happens to be a Fishers resident. And so Chris Britt, Chris, if you can answer the question on how some sites are selected in the neighborhoods and why, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. These initial ones are likely coming through because they were the ones that were submitted for permit earliest. But from a design perspective, we did have a design in place to start in Fishers a couple years ago. And so recently we've done an expansion to that design. And so we started basically with the goal of providing services to an existing base of customers, and that's where we began, and we just did an expansion from that point on. So we do have some internal goals as far as what we're trying to cover, but that is proprietary information.
Yeah. So Chris, this is Jason. So I noticed you have to attach to a fiber source. So that wasn't part of the decision tree that you already have fiber laid at these areas. You're going to lay fiber out and then attach to that the towers.
Yeah, when we can, we try to take that into account just for speed of deployment. But we really have some of our own goals that we're trying to cover, and then we'll bring the fiber to meet those goals.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we get started on the individual cases?
No, thank you.
Sure. First one is a consideration for a location at 9711 River Oak Lane East, Fishers, Indiana, also neighborhood known as the Pines. Jason, Jeff, any specific questions on this location?
No, I do not.
We did receive one question from the HOA president of the Pines that said there were two pre-existing poles located in close proximity to this, and asked why they weren't able to be co-located on those poles. Had anybody followed up with that consideration or provided the HOA an answer to that question?
This is Jason. Tammy's on the line, and she did the individual review of these permits. So I'll ask that if she can speak to the details of that.
Yeah, I had not received that comment. We can take a closer look at that to see if there is a way that we can use some of those existing structures, but that would be based on Verizon's coverage area that they need to maintain.
Yeah, this was, if you look at the spreadsheet of comments that came in, there's one from Chris Uli, I believe his name is, and he's the president of the Pines HOA. Per your website, you have 2 proposed small cell nodes in our neighborhood, and I had a question, how can we propose new locations? We have 2 existing light posts near both the proposed sites. One is in the exact same area. Both are in common area versus residential properties. I feel this would be a better place to replace or add to the current towers. I don't know if anybody gave any consideration to that proposal. So it sounds like they have not, or we're not aware of that comment. So I guess my only question is that something we could at least review as an opportunity?
Yeah, we can take another look at that and do a final proposal with Verizon on that specific location.
Okay. So so I guess the question is, Chris, if we do not approve a waiver on this and hold off to evaluate that opportunity, what?
Yeah, Jason, with respect to the timeline on this particular permit, would we be able to table this, the Pines comment until our next board meeting if Verizon was amenable to that, so that we could look through whether there's an alternative location to this resident's comment, and if not, bring it back for a request for approval at the next board meeting?
We'd have to double check on the timeline of when the actual permit was submitted complete, but we possibly do have time to work with Verizon, and with knowing that they've been extremely collaborative with us. Leonard, do you think that you would be amenable to that?
Yeah, well, we would definitely want to continue working with the city. And while you were in discussion, just to let you know, I quickly looked at that location, and I would be interested to see what poles they were inquiring about, because there aren't any other poles close by in proximity. Typically, we try to be within 100 feet. And I know that Tammy had asked that question before about when do we approach the HOA, because we have identified several HOA-owned lights that we will begin working with those individual HOAs on to do remove and replacements is what we call that. So then that way we're not doing pole propagations, and I don't see anything close by to there. But as far as this one goes, I'm very agreeable to tabling this until the 27th.
I appreciate your guys' consideration of that. I just want to make sure when we ask residents for their comments that we're at least evaluating those and making sure that we do an investigation to meet their needs. And if it can't work, I understand that, but we should at least do some due diligence on it. So I appreciate your willingness to look at that. So let's move forward to the suite.
Absolutely. Can I ask one more question
Sure.
before you proceed?
Sure.
I know this is a very unique situation we all find ourselves in, and kudos to the city for pulling this off. How far in advance could we get those questions, so then that way we could have responses back into staff before the next session?
Yeah, we'll make sure that you get those comments so that you guys can review them and evaluate whether there's some suggestions from the residents that would make sense to pursue.
Perfect.
We'll get you those for sure, so that we're not talking about them today for the first time in the public meeting. So we'll get you those.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you make just a motion to table that specific
Yes.
line
Is there a
item?
motion to table the R041320AA?
So moved.
Motion, yeah. Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion, item tabled. Let's move on to the Sweetbriar neighborhood. There's a number of these. I believe there's 4. And there are 10102 Touchstone Drive, 10288 Rawlings Place, 10100 Tybalt Drive, and 10211 Touchstone Drive. I guess we'll consider all four of these at the same time. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the board regarding these four?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve these four tower locations?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All four pass unanimously. Moving on to, the next item is Britton Ridge, which is another small cell tower location, R041320FF12914 Whitehaven Lane. Are there any questions or concerns about this location?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is that, I guess I have a quick question on this one. Is that common area? Or is that right away?
This is Jason. I believe on that one it is right of way.
It is right away? Okay. Looks like kind of a common area. Okay. Seeing if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will now move on to Brendanshire, R041320GG 13260 Radnor Way. Are there any questions or concerns about the location of this site?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to Plantana, R041320HH, R041320LL, or II, excuse me. Two addresses being 13946 Naples Drive, 13830 Naples Drive. Questions or concerns, comments about this location?
No. None.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next is Rosewood, R041320JJ 13631 Grapevine Lane. Are there any questions or concerns about this location?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Moving on to Sweetbriar North. R041320KK and R041320LL, 13539 Sweetbriar Parkway and 13296 Sweetbriar Parkway. Any questions or concerns, comments from the board?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Motion. Second. Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I think one thing, maybe Jeff or Jason, as we hit the halfway point here, maybe you could share a little bit about the review and work that you did and prior to this meeting around this, because I certainly don't want people to think that these are carte blanche approvals. I know you guys were emailing Chris a series of questions, and maybe just talk a little bit about what you were looking for as you reviewed each one of these locations today?
Sure, this is Jason Meyer. So what I did was looked at every exhibit just to see where the location was. I know staff vetted that along with Verizon, but just to ensure what I was voting on was the most, aesthetically location possible in the neighborhood. So I was looking at the satellite images through the exhibits and, what curtailed, the pole, be it black, green, and those questions were addressed. And then also was wondering, with the radiation warning, what that entailed, what that meant, and then what effect it might have with repair to the actual tower or a tree or a house or whatever might be near, what the circumference of that emission would be. So that was the answer, so I appreciate that. And then in the background, just doing research internally to my own on 5G, what the emissions are, what the power levels were, different commentary related to that, and what the benefit of the technology is to the community. So I'm excited that Verizon's chosen Fishers to implement this technology and the advantages that come along with it, be it from autonomous vehicles, onward into the future. So those are some things that I did. And I was looking at all the questions, and it was somewhat overwhelming on the Excel sheet. So I was trying to match. It became a daunting task. I was trying to match comments to where they lived if they were in coordination with the specific 28 items that we're approving today. So as you mentioned on the first one, there was a comment from Chris, and I would ask if staff has these, if they get highlighted or somehow identify what neighborhood, some kind of decoder, so I can understand what that question or concern or comment is from that homeowner or HOA, so I can look at it more detailed, so it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jason. I think going forward, if we could attach the comments to the particular petition, I think that would be helpful, so that we're more, some of these are, as you review the comments, they're general in their opposition to 5G, but the ones that are specific to a location, to the degree that we could attach those to the agenda item or have it in the record somewhere, I think that could be helpful. Jeff, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think like Jason, I reviewed all the locations. Certainly appreciate the work that's gone into that up front, but I still did go through them all individually. Emailed several questions to Chris yesterday. One of which is there's a sign that was discussed at a previous board meeting. After the board meeting, an individual homeowner came up and expressed some concern about signage on the poles. And for the first time, I was actually able to see what the signage that she was able to that she was discussing was on each individual proposal, and it's the notification that's about 2 feet below the actual transmitter. And I was able to get some clarification on that. I think we're going to take some steps to put some information out on the town website, or the city website that talks about the tower locations and what that signage actually means and why it's placed where it is, because it's very misleading because it's placed so high on the pole, and yet it's probably the most important language that we have out there. And so when you place it really high and people can't read it very well, I think it leads to a lot of concern that's probably unnecessary, or at least can be mitigated with some better information. So I think we're taking those steps, which I think is important. And I do have questions coming up on a couple of locations that I posed in terms of ones that appear to be close to main thoroughfares as opposed to being in residential locations. So I'm hopeful that those can be addressed, and continuing to have those kind of conversations going forward is crucial.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll move on to Pleasant View, R041320MM, 10642 Harlow Drive. Are there any questions or concerns on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Moving on to Anderson Hall, R041320NN and R04132000. Are there any questions on these two locations?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. and I'm trying to pull up the email I sent to Chris. Sorry, switching back and forth screens here. There was the one that's in the northern, and I don't have that. I'm trying to find it. The Gladeview 10702 Gladeview Drive was a question about why that couldn't be moved to the street, which is 131st.
141st.
141st.
141st. Sorry.
Yeah, this is Jason.
Yeah.
It may be better answered by Verizon because we have, as the city, we have received on our proposed small cell nodes map, there's a number of addresses that are listed on there that show locations for each of the structures, but it does not include all of them, their master plan for their full build out. So I don't know if there is one that is along 141st, as this one splits that location. So Leonard, can you speak to this location specifically? And if you have additional information as to why this one couldn't be moved into the 141st Street right of way?
Thank you for that, Jason. I'm looking at the node location right now, and the response that I have is it's due to the from a preliminary look. So forgive me, I'm just looking at this. We can provide a more in depth if it's required later. But there's a substantial tree line that runs along 141st Street, just to the north, and the way the signal integrity works is it can be impacted by foliage and stuff like that. And due to the limited range that we have as well too, the best way to cover that Gladeview Drive area and all the homes located there, it would be better served at its present location than out on the main road of 141st.
To that point of Jeff's, I guess one question that I had, this is Mayor Fadness, and maybe this is a decision by the engineering department that I may just not be privy to, but is there a reason why it wasn't put in the median on, I guess that's Roy Anderson Boulevard in the entrance? I mean, is there a reason why we wouldn't light the entrance and just put it in the median versus on the corner?
No, at this location, we tried to place it such that it was lighting more than just one crosswalk. So
It
that
actually
is
looks
the
like there's
reasoning.
a pole. It looks like there's a pole at
And
the entrance.
Also, in
median
that location,
already.
that median is very landscaped. They have looks like a structure in that median, and like I said it's very heavily landscaped.
You know, there is a pole. I mean, based on the map, you can see the shadow of the pole on the in the median at the entrance.
At the far north,
Mm-hmm.
along 141st, and that
Yep.
is, and
That
that
keeps
may
them
be
inside of the tree
area
line.
that is. Yeah, I don't know, Leonard, if they went on the front end of that entrance, that median, if that tree line would impact that structure or not. That would be a...
Yeah, the tree line would be there, and also the overhead power lines that are on the south side of the road. There's not going to be enough clearance due to that, and we would end up having interference issues with the power lines that are running along the south side of the road.
Yeah, they are. They do appear to be directly on top of that lamppost.
And there was no rationale for putting it on the other side of the road where the common area is? What appears to be common area? So I guess it would be the west side of the road?
Correct. We can look at that. I do not know if that is common area on the west side. We'll have to confirm, and we can get with Verizon on this particular location for that.
I don't know, and that's only one, I mean, Jason, Jeff, I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that, and I don't know that it makes a huge difference. It's a pretty good sized yard, it appears, and it seems to be off in the corner, so I think you guys, did a good job of finding a location. I guess, to Jeff's point, it just seems like there's multiple points here that would be away from a person's yard. But,
I mean, there's a light pole in the median in the neighborhood at the median of Gladeview and Roy Anderson as well. I mean, I can see the shadow on the map. So it just seems to me that if we're going to put a pole in, why not replace one that's already there? And there's trees all around anyway, so I don't see that we're changing. I mean, obviously I'm not an expert here, but we don't seem to be changing anything dramatically by replacing a pole rather than adding one.
could we at least table this one, just like the first one, and have Verizon take a look at whether a median location is plausible? I understand if you can't do it up on the north end by the road, but if there's an opportunity to do something in the median closer to Gladeview Drive.
The engineering department doesn't have any issues with that.
Okay. So let's do this. Is there a motion to approve the first Anderson Hall location, R041320NN?
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Jeff, and I'll take Jason yours as a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Agenda item R041320NN was unanimously approved. Is there a motion to table R041320, or I guess 00, until the next meeting?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion, item table. Moving forward to Ridgefield Drive, R041320PP, R041320QQ, R041320RR, 12971 Glazer Way, 12791 Arvada Place, 12974 Brunn Place. Are there any questions or concerns about these three locations?
No.
Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously for the items in Ridgefield neighborhood. Moving on to Ashwood, R041320SS, R041320TT, 13159 Huff Boulevard, 10754 Trailwood Drive. Are there any questions in relation to these two locations?
No.
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Jason, is there a
Second.
second? Second by Jeff, all in favor,
Second.
please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously for the neighborhoods, items in Ashwood. Next is Sand Creek Farms, R041320UU, R041320VV, 11327 Aline Way, and 11193 Aline Way. Any questions in specific to these two locations?
That was
I
just
don't
one.
have any.
Go ahead.
Remember. Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't have any.
I'm trying to pull it up here. Because it seems, I'm sure it's based on your distancing, but I'm trying to find the exhibit that had a curve next to the homeowner, and it was more closer to the homeowner versus the curve. Was just curious to the position there. Let me see which one it was, what address. I think it's the 11327.
It would have been the first one, I think.
Yeah, I'm pulling up. Yep, that's it.
Jason, do you mind repeating your question?
Sorry, so I just noticed on this particular one, I know the sites were selected based on distance from other towers and technical requirements, but that one just seems like it's real close to that home. There's that curve. Could have been, I'm assuming that's to the west, if north's on top, why it wasn't moved over further in that little common space there. or were you trying to do it by a crosswalk to create lighting as well? I don't know the decision, how the decision was made.
Tammy, can you pull up your notes on this particular one and speak to your review?
On that particular one, yes, it is. I mean, we might be able to pull it closer to the other structure. But there is a gas line easement that also runs behind those homes.
Gotcha.
So we have to take that into consideration too. But I think, you know, if we want to move it closer to the other structure, I don't know what that does with Verizon's coverage area. It kind of splits between the other location on Aline Way, and then there's also another structure that is proposed that's not going through this waiver process, but it's on 136th Street itself,
Gotcha.
at the entrance.
Okay, so based on your comment about the gas line, I'm assuming then this is one that new fiber has to be laid versus existing?
Yeah, I believe all of this is, all of these are new fibers.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
In the neighborhoods, I do not believe that Verizon has any fiber in neighborhoods. They have some along thoroughfares, but not actually in neighborhoods.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
But Jason, I guess to your question, your request is merely, could it move 30 feet? Well, I don't have to scale, but
To the west a little bit.
to the west down that curve so that it's out of line of sight for pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
And that seems like a reasonable request. I wouldn't think would impact the ability. I mean, we're not talking a significant, and it could be even just the way that this map shows, you know, it's not exactly probably reflective of being out there, but maybe someone from Verizon could share if they have any concerns about trying to move that a few feet to the west.
Chris, I don't know if you're online and actively looking at this, but just to answer your question, there is another proposed location that's on the southeast corner of Aline Way and Guy Street, which is just to the west. So if we do have a distance that we try to maintain these apart from each other to create our comprehensive layout. But Chris, with 30 feet, and Chris Britt, I'm sorry, with 30 feet more to the west, I would say, would that impact us that much?
We can work with that.
And
Yeah, I just hate to
Question
table
is
it.
just going to be making sure the right of way is fine and everything, but we can work with 30 feet.
Yeah.
And this is Mayor Fadness. I think it's hard for us to engineer to the foot here, looking at these verticals. You know, on the picture, it looks like it's still in the line of sight of that home. When you look at the design drawing, it looks like you did try to split the center of the two homes. So I guess on this one, the only thing that I would ask is that, and I don't know how we follow up on this, Tammy or Jason, but we work with Verizon to try to center it between those two homes to eliminate, to the best of our ability, line of sight issues. Because I can't give you a particular linear foot here to move it. But I think if you work with our engineering department on the permitting of this particular item, if we're just sensitive to that, and if there's an ability to shift a few feet here or there to improve line of sight for both of those homes, I would just ask that you do that for this particular permit. Does that seem like a reasonable direction on this? Because I think it'd be, I can't give you a move it 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet scenario here just based on these graphics.
This is Jason with engineering. Yes, we typically are trying to split the property lines anyways. So this is one that we could work with Verizon on, the exact location, fine tuning that. And if they're amenable to up to 30 feet or in that range, plus or minus. We can do that after we work in the field.
Is the board amenable to that type of direction, Jason, Jeff?
Yes.
Jason Meyer, yes. Speaking, yes.
So Chris, do you need a motion with more description on this than
Yeah,
just an
I
approval?
I would ask for a request to approve this particular item with the additional ability to move the permitted location up to 30 feet to the west as best determined by engineering and Verizon working on site.
All right, so let's,
Wait, so one moment, Chris. So do we want to limit 30 if the 45 works?
I think we could just give direction that let's try, I'll try an amendment, we'll see if it works. So, I'm gonna make a motion to approve R041320 UU 11327 Arlene Way, contingent upon the engineering department working directly with Verizon to try to center that tower to the best of both abilities between the two homes. Is there a motion, or is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion by Scott, second by Jason. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Is that, Chris, are you okay with that?
I'm good, thank you.
For B, R041320 VV 11193 Arlene Wayne. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is the neighborhood of Sedona, R041320 WW 13802 Beardsley Way. Are there any questions for the item in Sedona?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move to Eller Run. And we have item R041320XX 6355 Creekview Lane, as well as R041320YY 6298 Valley View Drive. Are there any questions on either one of these items?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Jason, is there a second by Jeff?
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving to Eller Trails, R041320ZZ 5946 Bristol Cone Drive. Any questions on this item?
Yes, I had a question about possibly relocating this to the Ambassador House parking lot.
And so people can get oriented to hear that. Is that directly to the south or to the west?
Actually be a little bit to the northwest. A little bit to the northwest.
Jason or representatives from Verizon, can you speak to that?
This is Jason. I'm looking up the actual location right now to make sure that I see the other proposed structure locations in relation to this. But in the meantime, Leonard, if you have the ability to speak to moving it approximately, it would be a couple to a few hundred feet to the northwest inside the Ambassador House parking lot location.
I can speak to the fact that if we're moving it into a parking lot, that typically means that we'll have to work on private easements unless there's public right of way in there. That's the reason we stay in the rights of way, because of the rules and rights that are granted to the utilities in the right of way. So
It's a city parking lot, so have at
okay.
it.
Well, okay, so have at it. I guess I'd defer to Megan. Megan.
Well, I'll say that. Jason will feel differently, but it is a city. It's a city.
Yeah.
It's a city park. So So that's why
Yeah,
that's
okay.
the reason for the suggestion.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, let's take a look at it. So, go ahead, Megan.
If it's city property, we would have to. I mean, it's something we can discuss.
Yes, it's city property. Chris, you could probably speak to the need for an easement if it's not, it depends on if you define all public property as public rights of way and whether or not that requires a separate easement or whether it's just a permitted.
And to the extent you would need an easement for fiber to run fiber to that location, the city, I'm sure, would be more than willing to work with you on that as well.
That's what I was just getting ready to say, because this takes into account that we have to also get fiber there and we have to also get power there. And a move of that
Some of
amount.
the things we would need to discuss, Leonard. I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether first the alternate location is viable from a technical perspective in terms of achieving our RF objectives, and then what additional costs the alternative location and there's a few different factors we would want to review.
Yeah, and 100 to 200 feet is a pretty substantial move, so there's impact to network propagation and our coverage area that we have to take into account. So Megan, do you agree with the fact that we can table this one and we'll just take a look at it and then work with staff?
Yes.
We appreciate the consideration. So we'll make a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Eller Trail item is tabled. Move on to Sutton Crossing R041320 AAA 13250 Thornhill Run. Any questions on this item?
Mayor, I apologize. This is Hatem Mekki. I was muted just for that Eller Park item. Just wanted to make everyone aware that there is a City of Carmel easement along that area, so everyone's aware. It might not. It should have been recorded, so it might not appear in any of the maps, but we can provide that information for you. Sorry for the interruption.
Sure. Thank you. Any questions on this item for Sutton Crossing? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our final one is Auburn Springs, R041320 triple B 10239 Park Shore Drive, Fishers, Indiana. Any questions on this item?
No.
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Any other additional items, Chris?
Nope.
Seeing none, we will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks again, Verizon team. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
You too.